Welcome, Deakin Law Student Society Geelong, to the College of Law Victoria Employability Seminar Series. My name is Susan Pincus and I'm the National Careers Professional at the College of Law. I'm thrilled to join you to present on the topic of developing your future career. After I've run through this session, then I'm going to pass you over to my colleague, Marco, and then he will go through the finer details of practical legal training. So in terms of what I'm going to cover today, we're going to cover about the importance of knowing yourself and also knowing the job market, also about continuing to add value and how you might do that, developing a positive growth mindset, building your brand, growing your relationship collateral, and also how to access the hidden market. So I've got up on screen a very, very good diagram that's about how to drive your career. And before I go into the different areas of how to do that, there are a couple of things I just wanted to share with you. First of all, the responsibility for career development and management is on the individual. It's never, ever on your manager or your employer alone. So I think kind of that's a really, really important premise, that when you're thinking about how you might develop your career, plan your career, and set yourself up for opportunities down the track, it's important to always remember that you're the one that is accountable for driving your career. Your manager might also be instrumental in that and also advocating for you, but you're the one that is going to be initiating it. The other thing to also keep in mind is that there has been a shift from a traditional ladder and linear career path to a lattice model, which has a flatter, leaner structure that moves laterally, diagonally, and down, as well as up. So what I mean by this is that once upon a time, there was a traditional model that was very much based that the only way that you make career progression is to move upwards. So now you can move in different directions and get exposed to different opportunities that can all develop your career. So let's just go through the components on how to drive your career. So starting off, it's always important to know yourself. So this means, how do you actually work out what you're good at? What are your strengths? What are the things that motivate you? And what do you actually need? What do you need from your environment? What do you need from your colleagues? What do you need from your team and your work environment? How do you continue to add value? So how do you make sure that you are always staying relevant and on people's radar? That is something very, very important, because sometimes we just get stuck, and it's about working out how can I actually add value. Also about building your brand. So what do you want to be known for, and how do you actually communicate your value? We'll also talk about the importance of setting up your contacts, or another word for network. And that's how important is it to build your connections for mutual benefit? And we call that relationship collateral. And then the last aspect of this is about adapting and growing. So anticipating change, growing your skills and experience, and building resilience along the way. We're now going to go through each one of those factors. So first of all, knowing yourself. So self-awareness is actually one of the most critical starting points when you're going out and presenting yourself in the job market, when you're going out and you're networking with people and you're going for interviews. So if you want to be your best, you really need to develop a much deeper sense of who you are. And this can sometimes be really, really difficult, because people find that this is akin to bragging and about talking about how good you are. But in actual fact, it does require you to step back and put a bit of a pitch together. So think about, what are you actually good at and what comes naturally to you? Now, if you're kind of thinking, oh, I'm really not too sure, I've got no clue, then you can use some free online tools. So there is a strengths finder, so you might want to have a little look at that and see what you think. Another thing is to ask for feedback. So often as part of the performance appraisal, if you're working in an organisation, sometimes it's included as part of the appraisal where you actually get feedback on your performance, on your strengths and your development needs from people that know you well. So it can be from your colleagues, it can be from your manager, it can be from your customers, it can be from your team. So I really urge you to do that. And if you're not working, you can do it like perhaps with friends and with family, but people that know you well and are going to be honest. It's also important that you think about what your drivers are and your motivators are and what you find that you're actually getting drawn to so that you lose time because you get so caught up in it. It's also important to think about what your critical values are and how they might align to different areas of law. So commercial law compared to, say, community legal centres, the values there might be quite different. So I kind of really suggest that you step back and you ask yourself, what is really important to me? What are my non-negotiable values in my career? So am I motivated by what the organisation does, what my sense of purpose is? Am I motivated by working with in a fast-paced dynamic environment? Do I want to be kind of working with the smartest and the brightest? Do I want to be working in an environment where there is lots of career development opportunities? Or do I want to be working in an environment that's going to support my family and also having a balanced lifestyle? So thinking about that, and also some of the things that might be getting in the way. So I call these as self-limiting beliefs. So it's important to remember what they might be, and perhaps trying to reframe your mindset, because these are some of the things that can perhaps get you caught up, and particularly when you're having to go out and start talking to law firms and organisations within regional Geelong or wider than that, if you're kind of looking Melbourne or interstate. It's about how you can position yourself. So someone that is able to present as being very kind of clear about who they are is very, very attractive on the job market. So think about how important that is. Also in terms of knowing your environment. So we're very much in a VUCA environment. So VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And this concept was first introduced by the military, the US Department of Defense. And VUCA means that we have to avoid traditional outdated approaches to management and leadership and day-to-day workings. It requires organisations to adapt. We just can't afford to sit back, and the pandemic is something that has really sped things up. So a little bit more about this and knowing your environment. So the rate of change has been unprecedented, and the global industry is going through a major shake-up, and that includes the legal profession as well. And this is driven by a range of factors. So one of them is being that we have more sophisticated client demands. And by that, demands are around delivery of better value from our law firms and organisations in terms of being in a highly competitive market, and also demand from clients for a holistic kind of business solution as well. The fact that you're not just looking through a legal lens, you're looking through maybe a broader lens than that's kind of reflective of business and commercial acumen. And also just rapidly evolving technologies, the change to the way we work and we live. I mean, if that hasn't changed rapidly as a result of pandemic, then I don't know what else has. But we have a lot more flexibility in the way that work is done, the way it's delivered, etc. So that has been absolutely sped up. And never has there been a more relevant time to kind of also explore other domains that your legal training can take you on. So the career options are wide and varied. So, I encourage you to look beyond the traditional career options for a more kind of commercial career in, say, a mid-tier, top-tier legal firm, and to look beyond that. So have a look at careers like legal technology, legal business, legal operations, government, etc. And don't be afraid to pursue an area that is complementary to law for those of you that don't necessarily want to, or you're not convinced that practicing law is going to be for you for the long term. And on top of that, there are also other options such as academia, consulting, doing contract admin work, using your entrepreneurial skills, even going into kind of human resources, recruitment, etc. The list just goes on and on. So be aware of your environment, go out and have conversations and explore what other avenues there are. So passion is not enough. It's really important that you're able to explain to employers why you're interested in a particular area. So to say that you want to work in social justice and that you're interested in working in the community because you want to help people is not sufficient. You need to be able to evidence that through the volunteering work that you've done. And it's also important that you prepare a little bit of a pitch that represents you and that is authentic and you feel comfortable with. Include examples of your achievements as well. Support your strengths through real world situations and give some examples of your capabilities. So don't just talk about that, you're good at time management. Actually, give an example of when you've had to navigate competing time pressures. Also think about how many people you've managed and demonstrate your leadership capacity, or how many projects that you've worked in at a given time. And that also, talks to your time management skills. Also, some of the dollar values of the cases that you've worked on, which also talks to the level of your responsibility. How many stakeholders you've worked with on a particular case. That can demonstrate your project management, your communication skills. So trying to bring metrics into this, and also even drawing on your non-legal career, because I'd imagine that not all of you will already have legal experience, and you probably have careers outside where you've been able to develop skills in hospitality, in retail, in administration, whatever it is. Think about those transferable skills and experience that you can bring that all supports why you want to work in a particular area of law. It's also important that you continuously add value. So a lot of employers want a diverse skill set. It's not just about having the academics, it's also about the total individual. So keep your interests outside of law going, and remember, human first, lawyers second. And think about the types of skills that are in demand and how you can work on those skills and how you can actually play to those strengths. So 2 skills particularly that are really, really important that I'm just going to briefly touch on are resilience and adaptability. So a key part of resilience is the adaptability, or the ability to talk about even where things have gone pear-shaped and what you've learned and what you're doing differently as a result. Employers don't necessarily want to hear only about the things that have gone to plan. So it can be quite powerful and impactful to talk about those type of things. And adaptability is about how you can adapt and thrive in a very fast-changing environment through learning, through unlearning and relearning in a world where existing baselines are continuously shifting. And another thing about later lawyers, because I would say that a lot of the people that I see in my role as a careers professional at the college are coming to law as a second career. So don't underestimate all the myriad of skills that you are bringing as someone that is perhaps a little bit more mature, has more life experience, and is able to actually share that with other people as well and be a bit of a mentor. So thinking about this, that you're the solution to the problem, I think this is really, really critical in terms of how you position yourself in the market and how you have conversations with people. So before you go and start those conversations, think about, what do I know about this organisation? What have I heard? Are they understaffed? Are they looking to kind of grow a new team? Are they looking to branch out into new areas of law? Are they perhaps wanting to work on more innovative delivery of services? And sometimes it's hard to know what they're actually looking for, but maybe by reading up on the organisation, getting a sense of it, reading articles, jumping onto LinkedIn, talking to other people. So this allows you then to go and position yourself as being able to actually make a difference to their organisation. So it's not just about what they can do for you. It's very much about what you can bring to them. What can you bring to the table? What can you bring to the party? What skills have you got? What achievements can you talk to that will be of interest to them? Just an interesting diagram here. I'm not sure if you've probably already heard this and I'm preaching to the converted, but there is Professor Carol Dweck, one of the world's leading researchers in the field of motivation and mindsets at Stanford University. She did some research and focused on why some people succeed and what's within our control to foster success. So she talks about this concept of a growth versus a fixed mindset. And when an individual has a growth mindset, they believe that their abilities and their intelligence are cultivatable and flexible. So with effort through learning and persistence, you can actually get better, smarter, and more talented. There are numerous stepping stones towards development and improvement, and it's not something that is going to happen overnight. It is a gradual process. So if you look on the left, there's some examples of growth mindset, and that is just something to really, really keep in mind and ask yourself, perhaps, where do I fit on that? People, on the other hand, that have a fixed mindset believe that their basic abilities, their intelligence, and their talents are fixed and therefore can't change. So their potential is almost predetermined, and success should be won without effort, as you're born with natural talents and abilities. So you can see the difference if you look at what's happening with an individual with a growth mindset versus someone with a fixed mindset. So maybe tapping into this and being aware that, and thinking maybe I am a little bit more in a fixed mindset, then catching yourself out and thinking, all right, what am I going to do differently so I can get more to the growth mindset? Because having a growth mindset is a very, very significant skill to have, and employers are looking for people with growth mindsets. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is building your brand. So it's not about who you know and what you know, it's about who knows you. So it's really, really important that you set yourself up on whatever medium you think is going to be important, and where you're targeting and you're directing your career towards, and thinking, all right, I think, maybe LinkedIn is one that I need to get onto. Maybe Twitter might be important. Maybe Instagram might be important. But it's really about you thinking about what is the online persona that I want to reflect, and also something that reflects and ties into your personal values and professional skills. So sharing online allows you to do that. And even if you only use social media occasionally, the content that you create, share, or react to feeds into this public narrative. So how you conduct yourself online is now just as important as your behavior offline. So you can assume that you will be Googled, and your LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile might be checked out, particularly like LinkedIn, because I think that says a lot about the person in terms of how active you are. Are you someone that is connected? Are you someone that is following different individuals and different organizations and thought leaders? Or are you someone that is just liking everything without necessarily having a voice? So I think that LinkedIn is something in particular that I would really urge you to develop. I'm sure a lot of you already are on LinkedIn, but it is probably something that you might want to spend a little bit more time on, and also setting up a community of collaboration. So you're not just big noting and just talking about all the things you've done. I think it's also very much about sharing information with your peers, with your colleagues as well. And in terms of like even asking about your brand, what is your brand? It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. So think about, 3 words that people might describe you as when you leave the room, and hopefully they're positive things. I can't underestimate how important it is for you to grow your network or your relationship collateral, because I know a lot of people don't like that word network. So this is a really natural, organic thing to do. And I would say to you, start regional, start with law firms, start with organizations that are around a certain radius of where you live. And I'm thinking, and I'm hoping I'm correct, that within a regional environment, or even within a suburban law firm environment, that people are going to be more receptive to you seeing whether you can go and have a conversation with them to find out about what areas of practice that they're involved in. Obviously, you would need to do your research, so you're making sure that you have found out about them, and asking them questions. So doing an informational interview, which is, thinking, what do I want to actually know about this organization? What do I want to know about the different practice areas? What do I want to know about the typical type of clients they might be dealing with, or some of the challenges that you might be facing on a typical day? What are the types of skills? What are the types of experience that you need to work in this field? What does a good day look like where you go home and you feel very fulfilled, as opposed to perhaps a day where you go home and you feel a little bit defeated? So go out and speak to people. Start small. Start with some of your regional firms. See whether it's possible even to get some work experience. This is something really important to start doing very, very early in your career, rather than leaving it to when you qualify as a lawyer. Invest in your own professional development. Attend industry events and conferences. Join your local law society, or join your regional law society and any special interest committees. There's like an abundance of those that are out there for you to get involved in. And now that the world is opening up, there might start to be some more events that you can start to attend to in person. And as I mentioned before, share your knowledge with others. So make sure you're always kind of collaborating as well. And think about writing an article for a lawyer's journal, because I know that that's often referred to as something that employers look for, the ability to write and put an article together or a blog together. So if you've got a particular interest in technology, you can join special interest committees. There is the Law Institute of Victoria run the Technology and the Law Committee. There's the Legal Forecast, the Legal Hackers, Legalpreneurs, the Australian Legal Tech Association, which is ALTA. So maybe think about getting involved in those. So really important that you're continuously growing and developing. So think about some of the traits of, well, they're traits of people that are able to kind of set up their relationships and develop their careers. So they're things like curiosity, persistence, flexible, optimism, and risk-taking. The ability to step back and reflect where things maybe are going not so well. What can I do? What can I do to make it better? Where perhaps could I change my strategy? Am I just relying on advertised search where I'm just applying for jobs on Seek, but I'm not getting anywhere? So maybe I need to start talking to more people and going in through the hidden market where jobs aren't advertised. Maybe I need to start getting a bit more involved in some committees or start doing some volunteering. So look at how you can engage in a variety of interesting and beneficial activities, because these are all going to make your narrative and your story a lot more richer and a lot more colourful and interesting. So you're not only just drawing from your university studies, but you're drawing from your life and your world outside of your studies. So you're able to draw on any volunteering work you're doing, any extracurricular activities, any interests and hobbies that you've got, any type of groups that you're having collaboration with on LinkedIn, or where you're kind of having that opportunity to brainstorm a little bit. So thinking about how you can bring that into your discussions. And also, you know, if you can't get legal experience, just don't underestimate the transferable skills that you might be picking up in other areas outside of law. So don't forget about all those transferable skills that you're picking up in other jobs, that you're problem solving, you're working as part of a team, you're building perhaps some leadership skills, you're building your communication skills, etc. So whilst law is obviously, you know, desirable, it's not something that is necessarily an easy thing to do. And find a mentor. Mentors are instrumental in your career. So whether it's through the local regional law society, it's through the state women lawyers, they have the Women Lawyers Association, special interest mentor programs such as the Legal Forecast Connect. They run a mentor program, as does the Law Institute of Victoria, as does the Australian Asian Law Association or the Australian African Lawyers Association. So if your background is perhaps from Asia or Africa, absolutely look into some of those associations. So set yourself micro goals. It's not all about getting to the finishing line in a rush, in a kind of scattergun approach. It's a gradual process. There is lots of time there for you to kind of develop yourself and develop your relationships and develop your experience. So maybe think about setting yourself some small goals that are achievable to you and work backwards from what's available through Deakin Law Student Society, what's available, what's on offer for you. So are there any programs that you can get involved in, like the Deakin Law Clinic? Or can you do some volunteering through your local law society? Can you start maybe writing a blog? Can you start working on your LinkedIn profile? Maybe building up your resume and your cover letter and your applications. just things like that. Just start small and keep building, and you will be surprised at the snowball effect. So maybe have an accountability partner, someone that's going to check in with you and see where you're at, and celebrate small victories. Don't forget to celebrate those milestones. So anything that kind of happens, no matter how small it is, that is a fantastic achievement. And so consider secondments to give you kind of other experience and exposure opportunities and collaboration opportunities. So even if you're working in an organisation now, maybe there is opportunity for you to get that exposure. And keep an open mind. Consider small firms. Consider government departments as well, like the ACCC or ASIC or the ATO. Look at some of those programs as well. And look at some of the new law careers. There's definitely so much scope apart from the traditional pathways. And just also to mention that the College of Law runs webinars on a monthly basis. I facilitate those, and just 2 that are coming up. One of them I'm running next Thursday. Let's talk employability, broadening your focus beyond academic smarts. And then I'm also, we're running one on taking control of your career narrative to land a role. So you can see from that we've got panelists that are coming from your top tier right through to your community, more community-based legal community centres, through to council and government as well. So you just need to register for those via the events page on the College of Law website. So really, it's just about starting small and building up your confidence as you go as well. And I'm sure that whilst it might seem overwhelming at times and you are juggling a lot, just with a bit of a plan and a bit of a strategy, just work through things at your own pace and make sure that you're just checking in with other people, other colleagues and other people studying with you. And just remember that, you know, it's also about looking after yourself and looking after your mental health and your well-being too. So I hope that you found some of these tips helpful and I haven't overwhelmed you. And I'm now going to pass you over to my colleague, Marco, who's going to talk about practical legal training. Thanks very much.